Good Shabbos, everybody. Good Shabbos. Parshat Vayeshev in the book of Genesis keeps on this general theme, the brutal picture of the family home. As we saw in previous Parshiot, the tension between Jacob and Esau, and then here we are with Jacob's own children, the sibling tension. So our rabbis, when they use the spirit of Midrash, when they try to read beneath the text, they have difficulty trying to find the right answers, because when we look at the simple meaning of the text, Joseph really was direct with his brothers that they would worship him, and then his brothers conspired a plot to appear that he killed him, then send him off to slavery. And again, the rabbis have a hard time because this is such a difficult family dynamic. And here's a fascinating read from the great commentary, Sforno. He explains how the brothers, who were so historically righteous, and I want to keep you in mind, they plotted to kill their younger brother, who were so historically righteous that their names would be engraved on the Kohen Gadol's breastplate. How could they ever have contemplated murder? When we look at the text, they clearly do so. They were so convinced that Joseph was the aggressor, they themselves were the victim. They were sure that he had to find fault with them, which then could report to their father in the hope that Jacob would have cursed them. If so, Joseph was a danger to his older brothers, and therefore the brothers had the right to defend themselves. When we look at Midrash and traditional commentary in our Torah study on Saturdays, a lot of us have difficulty as to why the rabbis can come up with such detours from the simple meaning of the texts. And my response is, well, they have historical precedent. But it's totally okay for us to say their drash, the interpretation, it doesn't so much flows with what we see as the simple meaning of the text. Brothers who are fighting amongst each other, and the pain that will bring to their father, as he experienced with the pain that he brought to his brother Esau. So it's a theme of tension. And I think as we look at this parasha, the themes of tension, it also ties into the Hanukkah story. There is a message for us, for this congregation, the people of Israel, regarding this tension with the brothers and the Hanukkah story, and even as your rabbi. We understand the miracle of the Hanukkah is the unity that the Maccabees had. They were living in such a foreign, hostile environment, a ruler who was permitting such hate toward the Jewish people. The banning of celebrating Judaism's joys. He raided the coffers to the temple to fund military campaigns against the Romans. With the banning of celebrating the joys of Judaism, this is what Judah Maccabee used to unite the people. We're putting aside the 8 days of the oil. That's a midrash. But we learn from history. We learn from Josephus. We learn from the text, the book of Maccabees. Against all odds, Jews came together, and we think about it of 2 Jews, 3 opinions. They put it aside. They came together. They realized that such evil had to be eradicated from the land of Israel, and they formed a sacred bond. They got their name from our prayer, Mechamocha Ba'alim Adonai. It's an acronym, the Maccabees. And when we think about it, such a small army defeated the Greek Seleucids. It's a miracle. That is the miracle. Put aside the dedication of the temple, it's that they were able to recapture the joys of Judaism. To me, that is the miracle of the Hanukkah story. But if we were in the movies, this is part one. There is this historical sequel that is often overlooked when discussing this holiday. It is this outcome that truly pains us the most. After such unity, after such a defeat, the Maccabees tried to be priests and they tried to be kings. Such a union that is forbidden in Judaism. It only led to their corruption. As the once brave fighters, the Maccabees became the Hasmoneans. The brutal irony, they not only corrupted their own people, they even adopted Greek names. Alexander, Aristobulus. And just like from our Torah portion, there were such tensions about who would succeed that it led to a civil war in a way that parallels with our Torah portion. Hate among brothers, hate among Jew versus Jew, and such hatred toward another brother. Aristobulus II, this is his legacy. When we really think about it, he hated his brother so much that he reached out to General Pompey and said, please come to the gates of Jerusalem and serve as our peacekeepers. That's his legacy. Come to Judea, the gates are open, Pompey. By such action and hate toward his people, the Jews don't recapture their own sovereignty to the land of Israel 2,000 years later. So I want us to think about that. Such tension within the Jewish community allowed a continuation of our exile for 2,000 years. There's still a lesson here. I think the first lesson is the absolute obvious that just like in our families today, we're supposed to recognize the imperfection of families. We all have them. Or as we can say in the greater Jewish community, we can recognize the tension that exists among ourselves. Perhaps here in Birmingham, in North America, Chal v'chomer, even in Israel. The next lesson, even in such a heightened, political-fueled world in our country is in, can we go back to the idea of the Maccabees and find common ground on issues that can prevent such divisions and factions and unite us? And the final lesson, it feels that we are the Maccabees again, living in a world that have seen the rise of anti-Semitism. So what do we do to fight back? I want to say each pulpit rabbi develops their mission, their passion, in addition to the responsibility of the pastoral needs of the congregation, adult education, all the realms of the rabbinate. A rabbi develops a passion. An essential component of my rabbinate, the genesis of this was May 2021. During the rise of the war in Israel and the rise of anti-Semitism in this country. And this is when I would not held back discussing the issues that plagued our people. It was clear. It doesn't matter about movement, Reform, Conservative, Orthodox. As we listen to our mystics, all of us, here down the street, on Overton Road in Israel, we were all connected at that Sinai moment thousands of years ago, which is more important than any movement, any political party. It doesn't matter. We have that spiritual connection. Since May 2021, I've been pounding the podium, trying to awaken a Jewish community to see the challenges in which we faced. Sermon after sermon, even gave a controversial sermon about the ADL, and I'm still here, I wasn't going to hold back because I felt it was responsible. So here we are today. 2 weeks ago, I made a bold, visionary redirection for this congregation regarding and I'm going to own it, my strategic mission to go over the mountain to engage with new faith leaders that share a common bond with us. It was my hope, and it's happening, that they would recognize and empathize the pain that we experience and support us during times of difficulty. Also, this direction, after pleas from young families, for me to have a strong presence as to which our kids go to school. So 2 weeks ago, I asked the congregation, try not to yenta about the sermon. Call me. Make appointments with me regarding the new plan. Again, many congregants, especially our young families, they finally heard the sermon that they wanted to hear. And I will say that we will continue to go over the mountain. And it was such a beautiful afternoon as I taught Hanukkah at Crestline Elementary to my daughter's kindergarten class. I think for the first time in Jewish Birmingham, 2 rabbis' kids attend Crestline Elementary. But there's always the but. My delivery of the sermon, perhaps, my hubris, maybe the feel of the sudden U-turn regarding our participation in the Southside faith communities, it did not sit well with others. And it caused a reaction I truly did not see coming. 2 weeks ago, I tried to make my case, and since I started here in 2019 in July, and it's fair to say many of the Southside initiatives have been overly political and partisan. And I feel that if Temple Emanu-El were to engage in such agendas, it would only open us to greater controversies. And when I talked about my passion, I was also deeply troubled. With each call to action that I saw, the Jews were left out. I own my sermon, that's how I always do. I own my sermon 2 weeks ago. But I never want to be in a position as your rabbi where such a U-turn, such novelty, such uncertainty, and even anger because of a new direction, I never want to be in a position to change our history at a congregation that my wife, Lillian, twins not so much, dearly love. And therefore, al chet shechatanu lefanecha, for such a bold action that did not sit well with others, I apologize. So for the past 2 weeks, I have processed the meetings. At the same time, I've met with religious leaders here in the South Side that now recognize the pain we have experienced. But they asked me, after acknowledging my frustration, they want Temple Emanu-El to maintain its strong and committed presence. And here's where they challenge me. Even when there are agenda items and positions that are not within the scope of Judaism and certain movements of Christianity, don't give up. So therefore, in the essence of this Torah portion and our Hanukkah lesson, in no way do I want any fractioning. I know there will be differences of opinion, that's us. But I don't want the divisions. We've been through too much as a congregation. I'm proud that we have such a great team in place. Sooner or later, the first of the year, we've hired a synagogue administrator, great B'nai Mitzvah programs, adult ed, our religious school. We're doing such great things. We're not going to turn into an Hasmonean dynasty that continues to break things up. So tonight, moving forward, I will always be transparent once again. I will never stop fighting for the Jewish people. I will never stop fighting for this congregation, and I will always support our indigenous homeland. A lot of my work will be over the mountain. It will be engaging with new faith leaders and new initiatives where our kids go to school. And on this bima, I will not abandon our presence here in the South Side. There will be times where I strongly disagree with an initiative. There will be times, I'm planning on it, when I will probably be distraught when that quest for Jewish justice isn't on their agenda. But going on the offense doesn't mean that we are going to go on retreat. We will go over the mountain and we'll stay here in the South Side. So I guess what I learned the past few weeks is that we can do both. And your rabbi should do both. And I will. So it is fitting, the Midrash teaches us, is a Jew an alien anywhere? The answer, wherever the Jews go, God is with the Jews. So therefore, the lesson for all of us is, as long as we are in the diaspora, as long as we are here in Birmingham, if God goes with us wherever we are, so too does the rabbi, this congregation. We go everywhere. Here, over the mountain, wherever they need us. Shabbat Shalom.